Let's then have a look at rounding and estimation. It's a little bit more complicated at GCSE level, but we're going to look at it at a basic level here to help sometimes make calculations easier. So for instance here we've got 147 divided by 8. Now if we had to do this exactly at pre-GCSE level, we might use a remainder and using the bus stop sign. We might at a later level use fractions or decimal places. But what if we're asked to do it for an approximation, get an answer that's about the number? Well, then we can use estimation and rounding to make the sum easier. So how do I do that? Well, I'm going to round 147 and I'm going to round 8. And we'll see what I mean in a second by rounding. You're going to pick a column that I want to get rid of that 7. It's quite a complicated number. If a number ends in tens, it's easier to divide by. So I pick a column that I want to round to. In this case, I want to get rid of the 7, so I want to round it to this place here. So I've only got a 0 on the end, and that'll make it easier for me to work in tens. I've got to look at the column to the right of the one that I've chosen and see, is it 5 or more? Now, if it is 5 or more, we do what's called rounding up. And rounding up, what you've got to do is you add 1 to the column that you're rounding to. So we add 1 to the 4, making it 5. And then change the numbers to the right of it to 0. So 147 rounded up becomes 150. So now we've got 150 divided by 8. It's kind of easier because 150 a nice even number and it's in tens, which sometimes makes things easier, but the 8 could still be awkward, so I'm going to round it up. I'm going to look at the number 8, and remember that if it's 5 or more, we round up, so we put a 1 in the column to the left of it, and it becomes, change everything else to a 0, so that it becomes a 0. So because the 8 was 5 or more, I rounded up, put a 1 in the column to the left of it, and the 8 became a 10. It's closer to 10 than it is closer to 0. So as a result, this has now become 150 divided by 10, and that's much easier to do because when we're dividing by 10, just have to take a 0 off it. So the 150 divided by 10 will give me approximately 15. So 147 divided by 8 is round about 15. Let's have a look at another one. 220 divided by 21. Oh, weird numbers here. So can we change it at all? Well, I'm going to round the numbers. First of all, I'm going to round it. I'm going to put it to hundreds, to the hundreds column, round to the hundreds column, because if I'm working in hundreds, it'll be a nice number to round to work with. So I look at the hundreds column. I look at the number to the right of it. In this case, it's a 2. Now, because it's a 4 or less, not a 5 or more, we're going to round down instead of up. Remember last time when we rounded up, we saw that the 7 and the 8 were 5 or more, so we rounded up. Because this is a 2, we round down. In other words, all the numbers, apart from the one we're rounding to, change to 0. So we didn't alter the number in the hundreds column this time, we just changed all the other numbers to 0. And that's because 220 is closer to 200 than it is closer to 300. So that's 200 rounded to 220 rounded to 200, making it much easier to work with. Let's have a look at another number. Well, 21, this 1 is a bit awkward. So again, what if I round it to the tens column? Well, I look at the column to the right, the 1, and because it's 4 or less, we round down, and the 1 is taken off. It just becomes a 0. So as a result, now we've got the easier sum of 200 divided by 20, and you could take the zeros off, making it 20 divided by 2, which we know is 10. So 220 divided by 21 is approximately 10.